Well, hi guys. Sorry about the opening. It's last week's the opening is from last week. I didn't have a chance to redo the opening. If you see that or notice that. Um, by the way, uh, I guess we're having a little problem. So, how is our sound? Just checking. I'm checking to see whether Nice is here or not. I don't know whether Nice is here or up. Oh, he is awake. Okay, he probably didn't know where I am. A little soft, better? Well, turn your sound up because I can't do much about, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I can't do much with um with my volume. Yeah, sorry. We're sort of limited. I really need an engineer. No joke. I I I'm really so we have a lot to cover. Actually, today is Sinistry. It's not Solar Arc or anything like that. It's today is our first class of Sinistry, and there's a lot to go over in Sinistry because of what Sinistry offers in terms of teachability in Uranian astrology. Okay? Mm. Hold on, let me get some water here, guys. Oh, all right. Anyway, as we all know, I like to do our prayers first. And, um, I believe very strongly in prayer for the astrology because of what I believe this is. And I think that, and I also believe this. I don't think this. I also truly believe that if I can take what's in my brain, which is why I always say, the one useful thing this person said to me was, there's too many working parts in that my head. There are many working parts to Uranian astrology. And the purpose of this class is to be able to teach everyone in those layers what it is that they're always looking for. It's a different way of looking at a chart, of reading a chart. That's absolute. Uranian astrology is in no way like Western astrology. Other than certain energies of the planets, it's just not practiced the same. The method isn't the same. The delineation isn't the same. How we read the chart isn't the same. A lot of the definitions of the planets and the points are not the same. So it, I think that that is one of the reasons I believe so profoundly that it is the language of God, because I have seen what it actually does versus what everybody else has seen. I'm aware of this. And as such, I really like for everybody to gather together and pray. And I advise this for everything. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. When I'm cooking my food and chopping it up, I'm always praying over it. I'm thanking God that I have it, that I'm able to buy it, that it's good, that it's fresh, that it's safe, that I'm able to, put it together in a meal. We have no idea how far away we've gotten from source. And if we kind of pray over everything we do, I think we're just going to have a better result in everything. So along that end, this is, in keeping with that, our prayer for Uranian astrology, or at least mine. So I'd like everybody to take a nice deep breath, cleansing breath. Exhale the bad air. Nice deep breath of unification with each other. And a nice deep breath of unification with God. Dear God, We ask that you guide each of us in our path, that we would find clarity in Uranian astrology. Please remove the blocks of self-proclaimed experts and expertise and show us the truth in the stars. Inspire each of us to seek only divine proof in astrology. Please strip us of all false beliefs and reveal only profound truth. Allow divine knowledge to burst forth into our highest vibration and awareness, and may we feel our spiritual connection with the celestial DNA in all of us more deeply, powerfully, and substantially than ever before. May we open our minds, our hearts, and our souls, that we would each of us find enlightenment. And so it is, and we thank you, God. Amen. So this is the beginning of our Sinistry. And truly, and I cannot say this enough, it is one of the best ways to prove out Uranian astrology, is in examining Synastry. Because what will happen between any two people can be more easily taught in Uranian astrology and teach people Uranian astrology more easily, since sacred geometry is the repetition of patterns, and what you're looking for really is shared or common patterns on axis points. You're always looking for the agreement in Uranian astrology. And marriages are made in the heavens, and Uranian astrology proves this every single time. So we use our rule book. The rules for planetary pictures is what I recommend. It's truly the only one that's been vetted. You always have to go back to the source. The source was Alfred Vitte. Everything you've seen since Alfred Vitte is a bunch of people trying to make themselves famous or important, or they believe that they have something, and they don't. They don't. I'm out here 40 plus years studying this. I have heard every crazy theory. I've listened to all the nonsense. I've spoken with all the astrologers. I have done business with them. I took their classes and their seminars, and I bought their books, and I listened to their hypotheses and their theories. And at the end of the day, every single one of them was really trying to figure it out. If they would have worked together or maybe prayed, or I don't know where they went wrong, other than saying that their focus was not the astrology, because I believe that when your passion, when your focus is something, it can't be but revealed to you. If this is what's meant for you, if this is what you're after, and if this is what you pursue with purpose and with passion, I believe that you will find it. So the rules for planetary pictures was one of the, well, it was actually the first book that Vitte wrote. And there were a couple of versions of it that he wrote, that he actually wrote. No one else authored them. And it's very clear to make that distinction. He was the sole author and developer of the rules and of the formulas. And we have the original books to prove it. In his papers, what a lot of American and English-speaking people believe is a book, Der Mensch, it is not. It is a collection of astrology papers that were published at the various astrology congresses prior to his death and while he was still associating with astrologers. So that's what Der Mensch is. It's not a book. We've established that before, but it pays to mention. This is, if you have Foxit Phantom, which is what I use and what I recommend to other people, in the searchable bar next to it, this is what would happen if you did a search for husband in the rule book. There are quite a few, because there are many different types of husbands, because people have said, well, why isn't there one? Because there's lots of different types of husbands. There are happy husbands, unhappy husbands, faithful husbands, unfaithful husbands, healthy husbands, unhealthy husbands, rich husbands, poor husbands, hardworking husbands, industrious husbands, widows, widowers. There are every type of spouse there. And Uranian astrology has accounted for that, in particular the formulas in the rules for planetary pictures. If you don't have rules for planetary pictures, it's linked. On the top video, at the very top, we have a link to my Astro World, to the app, which is a web application. You don't need to download it. And to Rules for Planetary Pictures, which is an absolute must for every Uranian astrologer. It is literally the only must-have book. I know about Nigelman's work. I know about Emerson's work. I know about Noltile, and I know about Jacobs. I know about all of them. They've never been vetted. None of those people could figure out Uranian astrology and explain it. Why would you believe they figured out the formulas, or that they had some new and, brilliant formula over Vitae? So this is what you would see for husband. This is what you would see for wife if you were to do a search. And this is where we begin. Sinistry is in the rule book. This is what you would see for partnerships, because some of them are partners or partnerships. So those are just three options to begin examining Sinistry as per Uranian astrology. And I think it bears to mention, just as a part of a deviation, but a point of this, is that it provides, in looking at these, which you're going to find out and in these examinations if you do this right, this provides clear answers to those who understand and use the proper methods. There are always planets that cover each other in astrology, and this is far from the essence of the covenant in the stars. We always have to remember that what Alfred Vitae desperately tried in vain to explain to astrologers is that the natural laws of science have to apply, and that math, which is a complete and a full language, could support and explain the astrology, but we would all need to adjust our manner of viewing the charts as well as our interpretation and understanding the astrology. So that's a very important point, and I believe that this is why his research brought him to the Arabic parts, which gave him the idea. I think it also is very important to mention that Alfred Vitae seemed to present his most conclusive work post the 1918 flu pandemic, which was what they called the Spanish flu. By the way, the swine flu, Spanish flu, it's the H1, or was the H1N1 flu. It was a very deadly flu. And much like Sir Isaac Newton, who was another great mathematician and metaphysician and very interested in astrology, and actually one of the original members of what was supposed to have been the Illuminati, the bringing light to a very dark period, which was these men hid very privately and quietly, and they disagreed with the current belief systems at the time, of which they would have been horribly persecuted. So, much like Isaac Newton, he creates this significant astrology during a period of global quarantine and solitude. He does this by himself and without the aid of any of the astrologers who, quite frankly, had ruined the soup every single time before him and prior to his bringing this to them. His papers are proof of their historical obstruction and why the world had to wait until now and until this school to clear up this astrology. He alone created the formula book, and later on in our classes we're going to prove that, as well as the relationships of the three men who may have murdered him, by the way, to claim his work as their own, as well as to remove historical and truthful contribution. His historical and truthful contribution to this astrology, not just as the founder of Uranian astrology, but as the first person to connect real math and science to astrology during the last Great Awakening. These formulas, as you can see for yourself in partnership and in the marriage, each of them are very specific. And today we're going to examine a marriage partnership of two very well-known people And one of the reasons we're going to do that is because it's one of the best, most clear synastry charts I've ever seen. You cannot screw up teaching somebody synastry by using this couple. Providing the astrologer knows what they're doing, Sinistry can and will always, it's going to reflect the true nature of the relationship between two people. So in Sinistry, what we're really looking for is that same exact thing as we look for in predictions, only we're looking for the half thumbs on shared or common access points. In this case, we know that this couple is married, has children, and this means that both of these charts have to represent that truth in their lives. So to begin with, they are married. And these charts should indicate, as of their birth, that they would be married. If marriages are made in heaven, then we should be able to see these things in a natal chart. So this couple is JayZ and Beyonce. Now, I've done them before, but I have a better app this time, and I know that I have the thing that I complained all along, that I needed to really be able to show people what was in my head. So to begin with, in their natal graph, we have to examine her husband's planet to his wife's planet. And in their particular case, they have two very standout marriage planets. One is, and they're business partners, by the way, so they have Sun Moon to each other. But what we have, that's a standout and that we want to look at and examine begins in their graphs. Okay? So, her Sun and her Mars are what we're going to examine to see what she's looking for in a husband to begin with. So her Sun is at 161 degrees, 58 minutes, and 46 seconds on a 360-degree dial. So this makes one of her masculine aspects. She's looking for someone who can communicate and be analytical, critical and analytical and articulate. These things are very important to her. We see that her Mars is at 121.3705. So again, in keeping with the last two classes, we need that energy. So what is this? This is Sun Mars. And Sun Mars energy is very soldier energy. She needs and wants a soldier, a fighter, a man who communicates effectively and analytically, as well as fights or demonstrates leadership or top-tier energy. These happen to be a requirement for Beyonce. Now let's look at JayZ and see what JayZ is looking for. So in JayZ's marriage aspects, he's looking at Moon Mars. So he has his moon at 185 degrees, 12 minutes, and 17 seconds on a 360-degree dial. And this finds its way into Libra. So this is Moon Venus. He's looking for an artistic, delicate, genteel, feminine woman. And when we look at his Mars at 321, we find his Mars and Mars Uranus. So he too is looking for something of a fighter. He's looking for a fighter, for an organizer, and for somebody who can work for the greater good of the work, unifications of groups, like-minded people. I'll bet any amount of money he wants his partner to hold his own. Beyonce wants a soldier in her marriage, and she wants a protector, and that's, or that's, JayZ wants that, she wants that as a partner. He wants a fighter. He wants somebody who's a go-getter. He wants somebody who knows how to unify people as for the greater good. So he's looking for leadership, but in a very different way. JayZ wants a big picture thinking woman as a partner, and someone who will work to help unify people to help meet his goals. So these are two things that stand out in their natal graph. Now, do they agree with each other? Well, let's see. Let me get rid of these little arrows for you. The red line is Beyonce's Sun Moon midpoint. The blue line is JayZ's Sun Moon midpoint. These two people share an access point. What's important to note, and we're going to get into this a little later on, is that about a degree away, we see his Admetos, we see her Hades. These do not indicate that these are bad marriages. This is one of the most standout things in terms of there being a reciprocally karmic marriage. These two people absolutely certainly are living a marriage that was made in the stars, and they are fully living and celebrating this marriage here. It is not an easy marriage. They work very hard for whatever they have. And it is absolutely a karmic marriage. And, I'm not saying that they don't love each other and don't have an extraordinary life. They have their fair share of problems, but their problems are karmic, and they face them together. This is actually a very nice partnership. Another one of the standout things that they have that indicates that they're rightfully suited is that her sun Mars lines up to his moon Mars. So what we see here is a couple, when you match these two people together, these two people are going to fight for each other and for their relationship and for their family and for their partnership and for everything that matters to them. Now, Raji, some time ago, he had asked uh, about the kaleidoscope, which is a hugely important factor in Uranian astrology. No, it's not always the woman's sun Mars to the man's moon Mars. You have to go through the list at the very beginning of this. We showed you the list. In this particular case, these are just two of the matches in this marriage that show that it's a marriage. There are other matches in this relationship. We always begin with the rule book. Rules for planetary pictures, and since the question here is Sinistry, are they going to get married? Because that's usually what people want to know. If they were coming to me at the beginning of their relationship, if he was coming to me or she was coming to me and they were asking me, or is this the one, or am I going to get married? I would say, oh yeah, you're going to get married. You're going to have some problems though. You're going to have a breakup before you get married, but you're absolutely going to get married. Hang tough. But that's why we use the rule book. We always begin with the rule book. I cannot stress this enough. But remember, Raji, when you asked about the kaleidoscope effect? Look what I did for you. So the bottom chart was Beyonce, and the chart that I just rolled over the top of it, that's JayZ. Do you see how they line up like that, Raji? If you want, I can show you some things of how you can make the transparent charts so you can do some of your work. It's very helpful at some other, yeah. After class or whatever, I'll take some time with you and we'll go over how to do this, okay? It's a really, really important factor in predictions and in analysis. And I'm going to show you a couple more. I'm going to show you one more besides this one. But let's go ahead and let's move forward. So again, both partners have the chart marker for the karma, but there it is. You see it now? Much more clearly, right? Here, let me help you guys out. I know that this makes it a little difficult to, hold on a second. Give me a second here, guys. The one thing I didn't get open in time. Did it open up finally? Okay. Let's bring this over here. Okay. Let's get rid of that. And that. And that. I know those arrows throw people. There we go. Now, there's the sun moon. Now, when you look at these two charts, your regular Western astrologer would be talking to you about all of these things, the coverings. They would be missing the most key elements of these two charts, which is the sacred geometry, the shared axis points that the two share. This is always the case. It is never different. In Uranian astrology, you are always looking for a shared axis point. If you don't have it, you're not going to get what it is you're looking for. That's the thing to find. Okay? So this is the actual day that they got married. This is Beyonce's chart, and this chart is set up for April 4th, 2008. I set it up at 8 p.m. because they said they had an evening wedding. Since they were so involved in numbers and numerology, I made the presumption and the hypothesis that they would have gotten married or tried to get married as close to 8 p.m. as possible, because their numbers were always a very big thing for this couple. Now, the marker that I have here, and all of you can test it out, and they were married at his penthouse in Tribeca, so you can test this out. This is Capito Chrono. And look where this lines up. And I know people are saying, well, but it didn't line up to her solar arc. I have said in the last two classes and every class, and I can't say it enough, there's no shortcut to this. If you go look at the solar arc and that's all you look at, you are very likely going to be missing something very important that may be happening to the client. You're always looking for triple patterns, which is why it is so time consuming to do the work. You have to be very diligent and very, very careful. So they have many triple patterns that day, by the way, and that time, but this is a standout. And if you have the rule book, you know that this is what it means. Capito Cronus is concerning the head of the family, representing greatness in art, the talented master artist, serious art and artist, art protector, patron, distinguished or illustrious society or company, large corporation or enterprises, meeting of heads of state, license bureaus, marriage office, registry, offices, United States or United Nations. What do you think this partnership is? This is perhaps one of the most powerful musical collaborations we've ever seen, particularly as a married couple and as global artists. I think I just saw a headline that he's worth a few billion. Plus, I believe, doesn't he own a sports team? Isn't that one of his assets or holdings? She's very successful, he's very successful, but on that day, that was a triple pattern. Let's take a look at JayZ's chart. That was Capito Chronos in JayZ's chart that day. And I think a lot of people feel very strongly that JayZ is the luckier partner in this relationship. But if you were to talk to Beyonce, Beyonce feels that she is the luckier partner. She is very touched by this man. And she is deeply and profoundly inspired by him, as she should be, and he is by her. But their relationship is not just a marriage of love. This is a business partnership. This is a shared love of music and what they do. The triple pattern is right there. The natal, the solar or the directed, and the transit. This is the shared axis point. See? They're equally distant. They create their own midpoint. That's what a triple pattern is. A triple pattern creates its own midpoint or symmetrical structure of a shared axis point. The natal, the directed, and the transit have to agree, and they agree. And this is, as well, the Capito Chronos midpoint, by the way, which I'm going to get to their charts, and we're going to go over their charts in a minute. But if you actually want to see that as a couple, this is Beyonce's tri-dial, and I have it set like this so that it's transparent, so that I could do this for Raji. Raji, here's your kaleidoscope. This is those two charts together on their wedding day. I know, right? How many times did I try to tell you that this is what it is, and I was just trying to figure out how to make you see it? Okay. Do you see this, Raji? Do you get it now? Like, is that light clicking right now for you? Not yet. Nice is working on it. Okay. But I will show you how I did it. I will. Nice is poor Nice. He has he has 5 gigs and 2 jobs, so he has limited time. But he is working on it. This was actually something from the very very beginning of the app, something we wanted to do. What's important here is the triple patterns line up and they agree, right? And the thing about Western astrology and the way Western astrologers or West-Iranian astrologers have been doing this is they do everything in this classic way of covering, and it's not. If there's something that has to cover, it's that these axis points have to cover each other or contact each other. They always have to agree with each other. This is the rule of thumb in Uranian astrology at all times. We need for them to always agree with each other. And this is where, when we say as above, so below, this is it. This is the proof that this is true. And this is the thing that we always have to remember. in Uranian astrology, the astrology is only as good as what we can prove out, and we're only as good in terms of astrology as what we can prove in a chart and what we can prove using half sums and patterns, not because we say it is, but in a way that we can prove it, that it can be demonstrated, and that it can be replicated, and that it can be shown to other people. This was the thing. Can you imagine all these years, 145 years, all the astrologers out here doing this wrong? This is what it is. So we're going to get into actually doing and working their charts a little bit and talking about this a little bit. And I'm going to hop in the classroom. Everybody put your headsets on. And if you're going to hop in the classroom to talk to us, oh, goodness, so many, so many other fields. This is the thing about what's happening now is that we're finding out that, the leaders in most fields have been misleading us. In fact, the veil that's being lifted is the veil of deception that and confusion that we've all been under for a very, very long time. So a lot of astrologers were talking about Pluto moving into Aquarius. They shouldn't be happy about it. They're busted. This is the beginning of the veil being moved back and the change in the transformation of astrology, which is they're going to have to prove it or lose it. Particularly because we're not going anywhere. And these classes and these demonstrations are just going to make the astrology more clear. So we are going to work on their charts in a little bit. I just want to give you a chance to take a look at that. I'm not saying that contacts don't exist and coverings don't have their potency or their power. But if you're looking in Sinistry, and if you're looking for events, and if you're looking for predictions, and if you're looking for clarity and truth, you need access point agreement. You need symmetrical agreement. You need sacred geometry. If you are not demonstrating the Fibonacci sequence of nature, which is a natural science, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself and you're fooling others. That's not astrology. That's just playing around. Okay, so moving on. We have work to do and we have things we have to go over. If you have comments or questions about this or any of our classes or our demonstrations and it's not over, we're going to be in an open forum. Please like, comment, and share. We'd like you to follow us on Facebook and subscribe on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. Leave your comments, your questions, your shares. That's where you can find us. Obviously, we prefer coming to YouTube. I hate having to hop all over the internet. I'm on Reddit, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Pinterest, I'm everywhere, and I can't. I honestly don't have time for all of that. You guys need to come to me, for real. Okay? I'm busy. I'm trying to help too many people, and it's all too confusing. Anyway, we need to talk a little bit about what's coming up, and then we're going to get into the JayZ issue. So a couple of things happened this week that I want to share with all of you. To begin with, at the end of last week, I was calling about a prescription for a friend of mine who's kind of end stage, and my friend's father, and he gets oxycodone. There is no such thing as Oxycontin, which was the original drug, because Purdue got sued so much. There's only a generic drug, which is oxycodone. So there's a couple of different companies who manufacture the generic drug, but I tracked the generic drug all the way to the manufacturer in Pennsylvania and to the supplier, and I came to learn something very alarming this week, which is that pharmacies are back ordered everywhere. for diabetic medication, for pain medication, for antipsychotic medication, all over the world, by the way. And that this was a problem prior to COVID, and that it's only become a bigger problem since COVID. So I didn't know that, by the way. That's something I found out. Yeah, oh, it's really a problem. It's and I found out you can't be picking your drugs up all over the place. Veterans in particular are having issues. And he's crazy too. Like he said to me, "What is on my drug? I shoot that son of a bitch." Like you're gonna need to calm down. You're not gonna get your medication if you shoot him and you go to prison. All right, that's an almost guarantee. Or you'll get some substandard medication. Believe me, you don't want to do that. Anyway, this is the way it's working right now in the United States. I can't speak for every country, but the manufacturer is only distributing to the two big companies, which means I'm telling you stop buying your drugs at Walmart. They're selling their drugs directly to Walmart and CVS, and I think Walgreens is on that list. Everybody else, they manufacture the drugs, they send it to a distributor, so a distributor is distributing the drugs to the other places. I think the VA is probably getting them straight from the manufacturer too, Ginger, by the way. I would imagine that they are as well. They just didn't mention the VA. So everybody else has to go to a distributor. So your local grocery store, pharmacies like Publix and Winn-Dixie, and some of your smaller pharmacies, they're getting it from a distributor. And they're supplying the big corporations first, and then the grocery stores next. And why is this up while I'm talking about pharmacies? Well, the reason this is up, so we're going to do a little bit of an economics lesson here, and we're going to do a little bit of a mundane astrology lesson, and then we're going to circle back to Beyonce and JayZ's chart. And if you want to talk about this a little bit, we're going to circle back to that because I also have this chart set up, or today's chart set up, or Monday's chart, I think, actually set up behind the screen. So a few months ago, I was pressed for time because, and I always am, because I don't feel well. So everything takes longer than it should. And I'm basically gathering up years of data and things from a hobby and putting it together and sharing it with people. So everybody starts harassing me because of this dip that the market took last September. And really, the world needs a lesson in economics. The gig is up. The market's had more than a Janet Jackson level nip slip for the world to see. When companies use their massive windfall earnings from COVID, what they did is they did stock buybacks. So when there's a massive loss in the market, the investors, the people who have stock in these major companies, they lose their asses. Greedy people are wiping as much disposable and passive income of people planning their retirements and 401ks and hedge funds and investment funds and trust funds as possible. That's what's happening. And this is your little economics lesson. When the bailouts come, the companies get bailed out, the banks get bailed out, the investors lose. The 401ks and the hedge funds have to recover. Because of the unfair and unequal distribution of wealth right now, the gig is up. And from here on in, it's the media doing the sounding moment to moment alarms. Well, basically, the foundation is slowly cracking and crumbling, just like it did in pre World War II Germany. And just as I said it would 10 years ago. I mean, really, let's all hold a good thought for good people and hope and pray for the best while the world tries to find its collective soul. But the market is not going to recover. People who have investment money in the market, they're losing their asses. You have billionaires betting morning at the ups and the downs. This is massive. Bill Gates. Bill Gates. Now you need to think about this. He can buy or sell $1 billion in stock, and it doesn't affect his wealth. So can Bezos. $1 billion moves the market dramatically. These people are gambling with each other, and when it's all said and done, they're going to be made whole. So are the banks. The people that are not going to be made whole are people that worked to save their money and invested their money. That's your little economics lesson for today. So, whatever's happening right now as far as the market, the Ides of March and what I said here was the beginning of the end. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. It'll go up. It'll go down. It was always, from last September, I told everybody, get out. Get out, because I'm not going to, first of all, nobody's going to pay me to look at their chart every single day and to analyze their stock portfolio every single day. So as a general rule, I told everybody, listen, get out. Just pull your money out anyway. And sit on your money and invest in yourselves. Fix your homes up, buy generators, make beds, food beds and greenhouses. That's what you should all be investing in. Water filtration systems. Invest in yourselves, because everyone is going to let you down. Everything that's in power and that's running things piece by piece by piece will disappoint you, will let you down. So the best advice I have for all of you is invest in yourselves. And on that note, we're going to jump into a little bit. I want to tell people who haven't joined my Astro World yet. Well, let's see what we're doing here. This is how you join. You register here. Once you're registered, you'll be able to get into the Uranian Astro App. You have to confirm your email. When the email comes back confirming your email, it may go into your promotional file, it may go to your spam file, it may go to your trash file. Look in all of your different files for the email to confirm your email. Until you have confirmed your email, you cannot or will not be able to use the app. Once you've confirmed your email, you'll be able to use the app. Now, we go over this almost every week. If you look right here, you'll see exactly the way the date and the time is input. That's how you input date and time data. When you get to here, the town, city, and enter, you can put the exact address and the town and state. The thing you cannot forget is to hit this. Hit enter. The app will fill out the longitude and the latitude for you. As far as your solar arc and your transits, all you have to do is put in your data over here, follow the same instructions. Do not forget to hit the search or the tab. You'll know that you've done it right once the app fills out the longitude and the latitude. Now, let's go. These are the charts that we had up, by the way. This is the chart for today. This is the only chart that we didn't have up. This is the chart for today for 6 p.m. I think for Monday, for 4 p.m. for Monday. Yeah, in the financial district for Wall Street. So we'll take a look at this at the end. It's just a quick financial look and a mundane look. But for now, coming back to the Sinistry, here we have Beyonce and JayZ. Now, for any of you who want to get their charts up, which we recommend you do that, and work with us, here's their data. And while you guys get your data, where are you, Nice? I know you're here. Oh, there you are. Hi, Nice.
Hi.
Nice and I can talk to each other while everybody gets their charts up. How you doing, Nice?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, I really like that slide you did
I know,
for
right?
Raji.
Do
Yeah, that
you
was great.
do you remember what I
Yeah,
did
I
to
like it.
let you guys know what's
Yeah,
going
we
on?
struggled. Yeah, like how
Yeah,
to actually present that, but yeah, that was really nice. Yeah,
and that
I
this
really like that.
week, this is the first time we're speaking to each other since last Saturday.
Yeah,
We have no time. He has no time. I have no time. So
to
this
work.
is the same
Yeah.
thing we instruct you to do. That's what we do for each other. We leave each other messages on the server. So I left him I left him a
Yeah.
message that said, "It doesn't look like this on the slide, but I figured it out." And it's actually
Yeah.
it's a picture that looks like this. It just
Exactly.
looks
That
like
was
this.
great. I really love that. Like it was amazing. Yeah, that was great. It's really clear, and I like the black
Oh,
background.
you always
Everything just
do.
pops. Yeah,
You
right.
always
Yeah.
do.
Well,
Yeah.
the app is that way. Everything on the app is that way. And then, yeah, it's really, really clear. Like I really like that. And it just shows, like the relationship and
Well,
like the exact moment as well.
right.
What's
Well,
going on with them? Yeah.
while I was doing this, and
Hmm.
we kept in mind, and Raji, we've been thinking about this. Believe me, the two of us, and
Yeah.
really, when you see our partnership,
Yeah, we have plans. We have a lot of plans. Like that
we
is one, that feature is one of the plan, but
yeah
I have to find
we
the time.
yes, and
Yeah.
we are very, very creative and very productive with each other. We
Yeah.
we don't just inspire each other, we both push each other to like the limit.
Yeah.
Okay. And we look,
We
we're
should have documented that, like how I have to guide you to go through like the GoDaddy setting. Like,
oh
can you
my
upload this
god.
this file for me? If
Remember?
mine like for some reason, like just a simple story, like for some reason my internet didn't work that well. Like so I have to call Anna. So I asked her like, can you upload this file? And of course we have to go through like which button do I have to click? Like it was fun. Like I'm not
I
bashing
said
you or anything with this thing, but
no, I just thought it was
it was
hysterical.
yeah,
I would
exactly.
say to
Like it's
him,
just
he would tell me, okay, go in there, and we would do a
yeah,
screen share, a lot like what's happening right
right,
now. So we'd do a
yeah.
screen share, and he'd tell me to go through something, and I would scream at him, "What do you want me to go through? I'm afraid that if I touch the wrong thing, I'm gonna what?" like, like
Yeah, that was hilarious. Like
you
just
are going
yeah.
to have to be so much more specific. Okay, like we
Yeah,
really needed like page coordinates. Okay, up 30 degrees. Go, go,
right.
go over 2 degrees, two
Yeah.
centimeters down. Click there. Okay. And I, for both of us, we were we both had like intense anxiety as we're doing this because
Yeah,
every
exactly.
little thing, one little slip makes a mistake and affects everything.
Yeah.
But we have
And you
this,
have to go
yeah,
home and fix
yeah,
it.
we have this whole list, and from the very
Hmm.
beginning of the of actually of me and Nice getting together and working together and teaching him the astrology. And we went back and forth with the app. We were going to do it, we weren't going to do it, we were going to do it, we weren't going to do it. And honestly,
Right.
the quarantine was one of those things that
Yeah.
we had all this time on our hands, and at the same time that we
Yeah.
had this time, everybody
Exactly.
was
Yeah.
there. There was this other issue of I'm not going to mention his name anymore because I just don't want to give him breath or life
Right.
to him, but he just wouldn't stop. And the
Right.
nastiness was so, and this is part of I want you all to understand This is not different than what Vitae went through.
Mm-hmm.
We were not celebrated or appreciated. People didn't jump and run and try to help us. In every
Right.
possible way, people were obstructionists, with the exception of the very small group of people that you see show up here every single week, all the time. I'm sorry, am I still there? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Raji says
Can
I
you?
cut out.
Hello.
Yeah, Raji says I cut out. Am I back? You can hear me? Okay. Well, so
All right.
one of the things is that we went back and forth. We were going to do it. We weren't going to do it. We were going to
Mm-hmm.
do it. We weren't going to do it. And then there was the
Yes.
pandemic, and there were all these
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
things were happening, and we had conversations.
Yeah.
And really, what it was in the conversation that we had, honestly, was about this.
Yeah.
Um,
Like just get to work. Yeah. That
yeah,
that was like.
it was
Yeah.
it it was this. It was this vision that I'd had for
Right.
um, for 10, 12 years. A lot of people that I'd spoken with, and I think it's very important to mention this.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to a lot of Uranian astrologers and to a lot of web people and development people and what have you. And from the very beginning, I always said, listen, we need a Uranian Astrology app. We need to test the astrology. We need to prove the astrology because for me, the most important thing is proof. Now, social media is important because Uranian astrology doesn't have a name, and we need to create a name. And when I push the social media and the likes and the shares and the comments, what people don't understand is the reason we need to create a name is because we design the method. Okay? It's not just Uranian astrology. All of the other people that are out there misteaching it, misrepresenting it, taking people's money, confusing people, those people need to stop. The thing that we're doing that needs to draw attention and direction here is in establishing proof for the efficacy of Uranian astrology, astrology in general. No astrologer has ever proven anything ever with any consistency. Otherwise, we'd have a famous astrologer. There isn't anyone. We hope to be it. And when I say we, I mean the entire team and group here. I don't mean me and
Yeah.
nice. That's the point of inviting all of you here. Each and every one of you is a participant in a very, very public study to prove astrology. You're proving it out in your own charts, you're proving it out in the charts of your friends, of your family, every single event. That's what we're doing here. We're doing the thing Vitae wanted to do 145 years ago, and every astrologer that he encountered obstructed him. Nice and I can appreciate that. We haven't exactly been given the warm welcome or had the red carpet rolled out for us. People, as a matter of fact, have stabbed us in the back and done more harm than good. And we don't care. We're still here, we still show up, and we still have every intention of teaching you and showing you and sharing it with all of you because it is that important. But you have to direct them here. We don't want people to have this idea that it's Westeranian, and you shouldn't go to some derivative group who hasn't come with us and worked with us. We're the developers, we're the founders. We're the next best, closest, clearest thing since Alfred Vitte. And I honestly believe probably an extension of his work. For all of my prayers and metaphysical work and focus and fixation and passion and drive for this, I can't help but feel like in some way this man has come to me in spirit to help finish his work. Every one of you who's been able to prove out the births of your children and your marriages, your moves, other events in your lives, your proof that we can prove Uranian astrology. So when we come back here, and the reason, by the way, I wanted everybody to get Beyonce and JayZ's chart up is because all of you should test these theories. And these are the things you need to test out in your own charts and in the charts of partners and the charts of friends. Do you have any idea how many markers they have in their chart that would indicate, based on Western astrology, that these two would never really stay together? And yet they have every single marker as not just the soulmates that they are. You can prove out the marriage and the twins. Look at their charts. Do you see the point of their twins? They have sun, sun, moon to the moon. This was almost a promise of having twins within their marriage, that would be a product of their marriage. Why? What's it on? This is Beyonce's chart. This is her moon. This is his Jupiter. This is his Jupiter. Look at this. Or this is her Jupiter. And her Zeus. His ascendant. Where was it that I saw it? Here's the Venus, Uranus, the labor. But there was something else I saw in their chart some time ago. Oh, here's the Sun, Pluto. Because of an action of his, Jupiter, Zeus, by the way, is procreation, especially this combination with Venus. So whenever they conceived, if we were to go around the time, say, 9 months prior to Blue Ivy and of the twins, you would have to see Moon, Jupiter, and Zeus and Venus playing out in triple patterns for the conception, and then, of course, Venus, Uranus, some sort of labor for the birth. And I don't think she delivered C-section. I think she delivered naturally. I'm not sure, but I think she did. We would have to go do her charts. But if you continue to do their charts and you keep looking through their charts, what you're going to find is this couple, and any couple that has a match made in heaven is going to have a bunch of half sums that are shared half sums. And when you see some of these half sums, and particularly the Hades, it's not to say that you won't deal with problems or in mitos, that you won't be stuck at sometimes in your, at certain periods or times in your marriage. But it's absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt, indicators that you'll be stuck together and you'll stay with each other, or that you will endure through your problems. And that if one or both of those trans-Neptunes are along the axis points, and they should be, that your marriage is a marriage of karma. And karma isn't necessarily bad. I mean, it's really a combination of things. All karma is positive and negative. It's never really one or the other. Does anybody have any questions about what we went over here today so far, before we get into looking into some of the mundane things and going over some of the things that are happening right now? Here's the problem. There's a delay, so it takes a while for people to respond.
Great.
I texted Kenny before the class. he had people. I haven't had a chance to talk to him since earlier in the week. He had people he was
Yeah.
meeting with. Yeah, he had people he was meeting with this week. You know, the thing that we talked about last year. I spent some time with him
Hmm.
this week going over it again, and he was doing some.
Right.
He was doing astrology like the old way, the way we were taught.
Right.
I found myself. We're doing a screen share, and I found myself saying, "Don't do that. Please don't do that." And he says he named somebody. He says, but you know, so and so used to do that, and this was my response, and I was like, yeah, we should listen to that person because they helped put an app together, and they put all these classes together, and they figured it out, the triple pattern, and they designed a whole program to explain it. We should definitely take a page from their book. He couldn't
Right.
stop. He could not stop laughing. You know how he just starts laughing when I get really
Yeah. Yes.
sarcastic about things? He would
Yeah.
not stop laughing. I start, oh, yeah, we should definitely do that. By the way, I'm waiting for one of you to say something. That this chart is set up with the dial in such a way. I'm waiting for one of you. Come on, guys. Ah, do you see it? You see the thing that it's sitting on?
What? Oh,
The,
I was working. Sorry.
yeah, I know you're
I was
working.
working on something.
Do you see the midpoint? Moon
Yeah.
Hades is a
Uh,
destiny. It's a destiny. Moon Hades means that two people have a
okay. So,
public destiny.
yeah.
She has Moon Hades to Jupiter Uranus, which is great
Hmm.
fortune. So
Yeah.
great good luck. So she has that destiny to this
Yeah.
great good luck. Where is JayZ's destiny? Guys, it's right there in front of your eyes.
Mhm.
Look at the destiny this couple has with each other. Her destiny is for this great good luck. JayZ's destiny is to be with her
Right.
and to produce and to work with her and to have those babies. That is as much his destiny as her great good luck. And do you know what? There's lots of beautiful women out there, and I know he cheated on her. I know that there's stories about that. I mean, they did an album. They brought it out in the public. But, and I think Beyonce probably knows this, and people who have been around them. There is no other woman for JayZ. Beyonce is very motivated and inspired by this man,
Hmm.
and I don't think she would ever remarry if something happened between the two of them. But this man never would have married if it hadn't been for her. She would have been the only woman he would marry. In fact, he would rather have it so that there's just no history. Like to him, she is the only woman. And despite an infidelity or an indiscretion, that's how he feels. All right, real quick, by the way, I have JayZ. You have to go to JayZ's Moon Hades. For her, her destiny is the great good luck. That's what we were showing you. Is this great good luck and creative fortune. And look, it was because of her being at a particular event in his environment that the two of them met. They actually
Hmm.
played a show together somewhere. Okay, but when we go to JayZ's Moon Hades, JayZ's Moon Hades goes right to her, right to her son. So they don't share the same destiny with each other because they share a destiny in terms of sharing a life together. But the destiny that they have to meet each other is and to be with each other is different. For him, it's it's that woman from which he would have a partnership. JayZ could never be equal partners or find a woman as fierce for someone that he would agree to marry. JayZ would play the field forever. This woman, he married her. And I believe that from the very beginning, he always knew that he was going to go against his own his own internal self, and his inner monologue was probably, I'm never getting married, forget that, nobody getting half of my anything. I think when he met her, he knew, I have to marry her. Their marriage is a partnership. That's the destiny for him. For her, her destiny was this great good luck and fortune, this, creative fortune. For him, it was different. Is that more clear? You have to take their charts apart. They're separate individuals, but they have certain shared and common access points for the synastry. It's not that everything lines up. They're not identical twins. They're marriage partners. So they have the right contacts for marriage partners as well as business partners. And they happen to be marriage partners and business partners in an artistic and very lucrative enterprise. And that shows. So if we were going to do, the reason I have this lined up here like this, and I have the charts set like this, is that I wanted everybody to know that the dial that I set, so this is Beyonce. And we had used Capito Chronos as the chart marker for the day that they got married for the triple pattern. So I wanted to show everybody that's exactly, we just showed you the picture. That is exactly what we use. And here it is. And you'll see that those were the lines that formed. And here was the midpoint. The triple pattern, really. Because this is 1 to 2 degrees apart. And we tell everybody that. Use a 1 to 2 degree orb, especially with predictions. With Sinistry, you want to keep that tighter orb. Use that 3-degree orb in a meridian contact. And keep the tighter orb in terms of the contact, really no more than a degree. But when it comes to predictions, you can go to a 1 to 2 degree, the meridian 3 degrees, but you really shouldn't be using the meridian as predictive tool because the minute. You better know the minute of something, and there has to be a lot of other work behind that. So we have hers, and that was her Capito Chronos. And then this is JayZ's chart. See? And this was set. They're both set for the same day, same place, same time. And do you see that he has Capito Chronos to the Aries point? Right there. So JayZ, much more so than Beyonce, was always going to want to run out. There we go. So the thing about, it's actually 70 some here, right here. The thing about using the charts and the half sums that we use, and this is where we have to hop into the rule book. Every time you do a chart, you're basically asking the chart a question. You either want to know if somebody's going to get married, you want to know if they're going to sell something, if they're going to buy something, if the surgery is going to be good or helpful or useful, or if they're going to benefit. Is this job, are they going to keep the job? Are they going to have to move? Is this a good decision? Is this a bad decision? Is this a good relationship? Is this a bad relationship? This is the reason every single person comes to see an astrologer and looks at a chart. Typically, they have a question. They want that question answered using astrology. This is the most underserved, underused, underappreciated tool. This is where it begins. Everybody, please, for the love of God, for the love of science, you have got to stop speaking in planets. You don't know what you're saying. You are not saying the same things if you're speaking in planets. You have to make sure. This is why we use the rule book. We don't say that Beyonce had this moon Hades. We say, hey, Beyonce had this destiny with him. We don't say they had that sun, moon, sun, moon. No, we say they had those partnerships. Half thumbs. They shared a partnership half thumb. We don't say, oh, well, that was his, son Mars to her. That's the teaching part of this. We say his wife half thumb lined up to her husband half thumb. We have to learn to start speaking in the definition. Planets are for babblers and bozos, really, and bullshit artists. If you can't conduct a reading or a conversation about astrology without getting yourself sunk into a pit or a pile of planets and half sums and points and TNPs, you're babbling. And you don't even realize it. You're creating the problem. I urge every single one of you to start speaking in the definitions and to always begin with the rule book. The combination of their charts is not described by the planets in their charts. That's not how we read their charts. The combination of their charts, Raji, the what do you call it? Oh, for God's sakes, the kaleidoscope. The kaleidoscope effect of the astrology has to be read in interpretation. The more I hear people talk in planets and points, you have no idea how you're going to be you're already contributing to the problem that exists right now. That's another reason we have to drag everybody out of, where they're at and here. Come here for clarity. Get Uranian Astrology a name. I cannot begin to tell you how many people have conversations, and I myself have done it. And you find yourself sitting there. By the way, this is a funny story. So I'm having a conversation many, many, many years ago. It not only it doesn't do a client any good, it doesn't do the student any good. It doesn't do the enthusiast. It doesn't do the initiate. It doesn't do the student. It does not even do the astrologer any good, because the more the astrologer speaks in planets and points and half sums, the
Yeah.
more they get lost in it. You're not reminding yourself what this means. This is what you speak in. This is the language right here, right here. This is what Vit was trying to say. It's not this stuff over here. It's none of this. Those are the guidelines. Those are a guidepost. If somebody asks you, and I had this problem with somebody where he wanted it explained and I tried to explain it, I'm going to tell you, as Uranian astrologers, this is your moment of glory. Don't ever do what I did. Don't be a sucker for these people. You want me to explain it? That's a whole other reading. That's a whole other reading. That's a whole other level of money. So what do you want? Do you want to know what's going to happen, or do you want me to autopsy the astrology for you and dissect it? What do you want here? Because when it comes to a clientele, you have to ask them. You need to pick, because you're paying for time. My buddy Michael, the lawyer, Michael used to say all the time, Michael would say, when clients would come in, well, we'll sue this one, and you know, and file this and file that. And Michael very calmly would sit at his desk with the client, and Michael would say, and who's going to pay for all of this lawyering?
Yeah.
And looking like right at him, like, are you prepared to write me a $50,000 check right now? I'm happy to do all that lawyering. But you're talking like this is the problem with astrology. Astrology writes a lot of checks its mouth can't cash. Okay.
Okay.
That's an English saying, by the way. Probably the first time you ever heard it. But
Yeah.
that's actually an American, not an English saying. It's
Right.
it, it's it's
I
very
like
true.
it.
Yeah, I know you would.
Yeah.
I figured you would.
Okay.
But really, what's happening with astrology, and what has always happened, and this is a story of what, and this is many years ago. So I go to this seminar, and I get in this conversation with someone, and we meet for coffee a couple of times at this. There was this bookstore. Um, Down off of Bird Road, and there was a Dunkin' Donuts or some coffee shop not too far from there. I think maybe on Miller or Kendall. I don't even remember. We're talking like
Right.
almost 40 years ago. But I remember I'd
Uh-huh.
go down there and then I'd meet him for like coffee somewhere, sometimes even at like one of the little Cuban places. But we'd meet at the bookstore, and we talk at the bookstore, and we developed this friendship, and we'd meet from time to time, like go shopping. Yeah, exactly, where you grew up.
Hmm.
What was the name? I think it was called the
Right.
Scene, right? The bookshop on 40th. Remember the bookstore on Bird with the crystals and the books and the astrology books? I'm pretty sure it was called the Scene. They're not there anymore. But they were there. They were a staple in South Miami for years, and this was a place that we used to always have to go. So we get together. Yeah, right. So everybody, anybody who was in Miami, this was the place. So we get together several times, and I'm speaking with her as I'm being taught to speak and as I'm being trained. And we get together, and we're probably maybe the sixth or seventh time, and she says something to me about the type of house system and the zodiac she's using, which is not what I'm using, which is not the same thing. So the entire time that we were conversing in those planets, we weren't even talking about the same zodiac system or house system. And we're just sitting there agreeing with each other. Oh my God, yes! Me too! Oh, yes, I have. And just one planet and not the same system, nothing. In fact, if you change the system, the house system and the zodiac system, it would have been completely different. It's a huge problem. And you have to tell, look, our job as Uranian astrologers, and actually Nice and I, our job as the founders and developers of this system and this method is to make sure that nobody screws it up and that everybody learns it clear and clean. That's our job, is to bring it to you and to present it to you in a way that is clear and so it doesn't get, muddled and mixed up the way it has been for over 100 years. I have a profound passion for this. So does Nice, and Nice and I have talked about this a lot. He
Yeah.
talked, yeah, he talked about. He says, I was praying for somebody to prove astrology to me. I was like, I was praying for somebody to build me an app.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need, from the very beginning, I kept saying we have to be able to give them software and let
The
everybody
ultimate
try it. Yeah,
manifestation.
the
Yeah.
truly the ultimate manifestation. Because I
Yeah.
thought about this for many, many, many years, and everyone I encountered who had been a long-term end user, such as myself, they had
Hmm.
been misled just like me. And here I was trying to say
Right.
to them, no, but I've discovered something. You don't understand. It's not like what I thought. No, no, no. And I couldn't get anybody to listen to me. And the people who would listen
Right.
to me, who found something that they could glean and steal and
Right.
sell, they hit and ran because that's what they
Right.
are. It's that Uranus in all of them. They're not, they're not deep. They're skimmers. And what it took to unfold this, like for you,
Oh yeah,
we,
that's a great description. Like that, they're just skimmers. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. They
and
just skim this and they just move on. Yeah, exactly.
what it took for you, just because I gave you all of these files that I had accumulated through 30 something years, and in particular 20 something online, plus the files that I'd gotten from developers that I had paid to,
Right.
do certain things throughout the years, and just they'd
Right.
gotten to a certain point, and then I realized it's like they don't know what they're
Hmm.
doing, but let me keep this. It's my product. I own it. I paid for it.
Right.
So I had these files, and even though I gave you all these files, it wasn't like, oh, here it is, just put it together. The very first thing that had to happen is you had to have an understanding of the astrology. And
Right.
once you did, it changed everything. And that's the reason you did what you did, because you really understood. It was like, wow, she's not wrong. They put this shit together bad.
Yeah.
Like, once I showed you how it was, you had the same reaction I did, like, wow, they really fucked this up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it was
Right.
I don't know, like you put it together. I taught it to you, and I said
Hmm.
to you, look, here's get every piece of software you can download for free that you can use and you can look at. That's a Uranian style software. Do it. Do it and look at it, and they're all
Right.
wrong. That's what I told you. They're all
Right.
wrong. And the only one that's even close to good or right was Aureus, because it was a clean dial. The
Hmm.
guts of it were wrong, but the dial was
Right.
clean. And there's like three or four other dials actually that are pretty clean, but I liked Ruth.
Hmm.
So, my loyalty was really to what Ruth had developed in terms of that. But I knew that it needed more. And we couldn't, it would have been nice if we could have gotten anybody to work with us. We can't. And if we do at this point, I'm not really sure we can trust them. As far as adding to the development of the application, because the application is for everyone to use, and it's really important that the back end of that application is good, that the planets are good, the points are good, the information, the data is good, the translations are good, and that the triple patterns, the sacred geometry, lines up. We can't afford to make a mistake. And we want everybody to join us and to prove out the astrology in their own charts, because from here, we hope to get to the table of science. We really do hope to bridge the gap between science and divinity, and we think the world needs it. Look at where we're at right now. And I'm going to tell you something that somebody who's a soldier, like really his chart, everything about him, he's a soldier. He is truly a lean, mean killing machine. And I know him, and he's not the only one of his kind that I know. I know a few of them. And when the shit hits the fan, he's one of the guys that the U.S. government always wants to send in. And he said something to me recently that was really interesting. So one of the things that he said in the middle of a conversation while we were discussing the fall of the Republic was, he's like, in the end, it's going to come down to water. It always does. And it triggered something in me. Very recently, we've had 2 chemical attacks on our water system in the United States. These are the systems in the arteries that go through every vein of water throughout this country. We cannot survive without clean water. No one can survive without clean air or water. We're literally at a point. They don't need concentration camps. We got smartphones. They can keep us in our. They can shut off our electric. They can shut off our cars. They can shut off our bank accounts. They can shut off our internet. They've proven that they can shut off Twitter. They can shut off communications in an entire country. They can shut off your water. They can shut off everything. They do not need concentration camps. You stay home, you don't know you're a prisoner. You don't know you're a prisoner until you can't buy food, or you don't have water, you can't turn on your water, or you can't use your internet. That's when you find out you're a prisoner. What you don't realize is right now they're building the prison around you. Our survival is going to depend upon our ability to unify with each other and to help each other and to love each other, because the people in power don't love us. They're unified, and they don't care whether we live or die. As a matter of fact, their goal is to kill most of us. And no one should be surprised or shocked by that. That's always been the truth. We're silly little slaves and servants to people in power. And if we want to be paid a decent wage, and if we want to live in a house with electric and water, and we want to eat right, they're deeply offended. These people want to drive us back to the serf system, to a feudal system. And they have a lot of power. And this goes to, by the way, the issue with what's happening, and then we're going to close up the show with what we really need to be most concerned with, which is what's happening now, which is this. So this is Monday at 4 p.m. at Wall Street, and I mentioned that earlier. The slowest moving TNPs are right here, 2135, a degree away. So these are moving into play, but we're already feeling the energy. Okay, this won't be here by the time it gets there. But this energy is palpable. This is absolutely the goal. This where you see vices. What's going to happen when they stop supplying the medication? The distributors stop supplying the medication, or people can only go to Walmart. Because Walmart will move a 20-mile distance. They don't give a shit. They'll shut down every store that you can buy something they sell at in your neighborhood. And then that is their model, by the way. They open up 3 stores and they shut down 2. It's like the hospital models. They buy 2 hospitals, they shut down 1. It's to make it more and more difficult for people to get to where they want to go. And Zeus is going to line up with it, by the way. Everybody was talking about Pluto in Aquarius, and so many astrologers don't realize it's not Pluto in Aquarius. This is what it really is. Every idiot who's been out here running stuff for years is very, very slowly going to be weeded out. Because when the shit hits the fan in the world and everything's burning and there's blood in the streets, people want to talk to the people who know what the hell they're doing. And things are going to change everywhere, in particular in the United States, and really not in a good way in the beginning. What am I doing right now?
Mm.
I'm not a psychic, but these are the planets that are there. These are pretty slow moving, but this is
Right.
telling you this is what's happening right now. Many people are going to die, by the way. Every time I go to a pharmacy, I cannot begin to tell you how many people are still masked, they have COVID, and they're vaccinated. Bragging about being fully vaccinated. I can't put my mask on. I'm at a point where I have to clean my hands every time I come, out of the grocery store. We live in Florida, so we have 2 flu seasons that come a year. We're under constant exposure from everybody, particularly the elderly who went out and got vaccinated and have been getting vaccinated for years. And there's COVID is everywhere. We've got a governor who's like it doesn't exist. It does exist. It's everywhere, and mostly vaccinated people have it. But thank God they're wearing masks. I it doesn't help for somebody who's not vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated to wear a mask. I can't get vaccinated. As a matter of fact, every vaccination I've ever had, I got really sick and I got the very thing that vaccinated me against. What do you mean by vaccine shedding? By the way, there are vaccine things that you should look at in your chart. Everyone should look at them. It shows like my health issues literally show as from vaccination. That the problem with my body stems from vaccinations, Neptune Hades. to the sun. So it's not just metaphysics. Are you talking about the flushing? Because I have a friend of mine who's doing that. He just started like a 4-month program. We'll know for sure because he will definitely report back. Because I'm not really sure what you mean. I believe you could probably flush your body. I'm just not sure about that mRNA vaccine. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Listen, I'm not Bill Gates. I never went to medical school. I don't have a license to practice medicine. I can't do this because I'm not a doctor. Bill Gates is the only person I know who can practice medicine without a license. Okay. And apparently nobody seems to be bothered by that. Can the chart show what? Raji, you want to come talk to us? Hold on, Raji. We're going to hop in the classroom. Come talk to us. And if you guys are going to jump on the voice in the class, please mute your YouTube. Raji, come talk to us. We're going over there. All right, I'm waiting for Raji to hop in here. Come on.
The vaccine particles, when a vaccinated person is around an unvaccinated person, can those particles, like, they breathe out the particles and it goes?
I don't know whether. Remember, I'm an astrologer. I don't know the medical end of this, but I do know. My son's godfather is a doctor. Okay, he was a doctor. So I got a terrible flu one year in Miami. And he was on his way. He used to ski, right? So he would go away a couple times a year. He would go to South America during the summer to ski, and he would go to Europe, to Switzerland and to the Alps to ski during the winter. And I get this terrible flu, and I call him. He's heading out of town, and one of his friends, our mutual friend, is blowing into town the same day he's leaving town, and I'm sick as a dog, and he's telling me, it's just the flu. It's going around, and if I have a baby, by the way, an infant. He's only 3 months old, maybe a couple months old, and 2 months old probably, and he says to me, call in this elixir terpene hydrate with codeine. He says you can. I used to work for him from time to time, so he's like, just call it in. He says, but you can go in there and you can sign up for up to 2 ounces of it. So I get it, and then when he comes back from out of town, because this flu is so bad, the next time there's a flu, I ask him about getting a flu shot.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a way about him that could be very snide if you asked what he thought was a stupid question. So I was like, oh, should I book my flu shot early, or what do I do about this flu shot thing? They're suggesting a flu shot. And I'm over at his house, like having cocktails. We're there for dinner, and he just rolls his eyes at me. He was like, oh, for God's sakes. he just looks at me as though he's like, you've been in my office enough, you've heard enough, you've been around enough medical journals, you've been around enough that you shouldn't be asking this. This is a ridiculous question. And he explains to me that what happens as you get, and this is a doctor, by the way, who's explaining this to me. He says every time you go in and you get the flu vaccine, you're what you're doing is you're giving yourself a greater chance of getting the flu.
Yeah.
So each time you get it, you're just making your chances of getting it even more. The thing you want to do is get an injection. If you have something, if you're going to get an injection that involves the flu or an illness, you want to do something that's curative. And he explained things to me, and I didn't really think about it. And then years went by, and of course COVID, and all of a sudden, like, history just comes rolling back, and I start thinking about this. So the polio vaccine was not preventative, it was curative. Remember that? They'd give them the polio vaccine, they'd be in an iron lung, and all of a sudden they were fine.
That was before I was born.
Okay, that's what it was. But if you look up history, that's what it was. If you had polio, that's why it was such a miracle vaccination. They called it a vaccination, but it wasn't. It was a cure. A vaccination, by its very name, is supposed to prevent something, not cure it. What a vaccine does is they give you the disease, they give you a little bit of it, and supposedly it's supposed to prevent it. Maybe in some people it does, in others it doesn't. What I'm willing to bet is if we were to go to the wealthiest of the wealthy and check vaccine records, we would find they don't have them, or that doctors signed off on them and didn't get them vaccines. Because the vaccination program that we have in North America started after we brought the Nazis here in 1951. And yes, I know all about Jonas Salk and I know all about polio, but polio was the result, as many illnesses, especially pandemic and epidemic-borne illnesses. It was the lack of either clean water, clean blankets, clean something. It had to do way more with sanitation. So there is vaccinated or vaccine in everybody's chart, and it was in, by the way, Neptune Hades. So this would have been a Vitae formula that he would have worked out. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the last 4 Trans-Neptunes had not been agreed to according to the story of astrologers, which we have found out has been a lie. All of them lied. Okay? And I fell for the lie, but a lot of them knew. They knew what was going on, and they willingly lied. So he was found dead, and he had a lot of books and papers in his apartment, and I believe they probably went and took them, and they republished his work and claimed it to be his, the additional 4 Trans-Neptunes. They claimed to be his, to be theirs after the fact. It was probably something he was working on. I don't know. I have to confirm this with one of our people who's just this resource for us as far as the history and German and what have you. So it was something that occurred to me as I was doing this particular class, that I really need to ask them. In fact, I need to spend some time with them because we need to do the founder's charts. I'm pretty sure I can prove that those 3 men murdered him. I'm not even kidding you. I wish I was. And by the way, if he's listening, you should really go look at Ledfeld's chart with Vitae's chart. Not that Rudolph was any less corrupt, but you should definitely look at Ledfeld's chart against Vitae's chart. That's a message for one of my, we have a donor who's been generous with us, and he's fluent in German. And he sends us a lot of resources. He's my contemporary, so he's been at this for a very long time, and he's had a lot of dealings with a lot of different people. And he has a profound fascination for the astrology and focus, particularly on proving it as a science. So he was the resource that let me know certain things where I was just wrong. And he's been a resource in terms of translating some information. When I can't get David, when David's just like, I don't even understand what this vaccines. And this other individual says, well, but the German 140 something years ago is actually very difficult. I'm extremely good with the astrology, but I don't understand German, certainly not German from 145 years ago. But he did put that Neptune Hades was one of his. And it was known and it was spoken about, and he was a registered Nazi, that they were testing vaccines in the camps for many years, from very early on. So Witte would have been the one to do this. I understand about Jonas Salk. I know all about it. But if you look up the polio vaccine, you'll understand that polio came from contact with feces. So really, it was eradicated way more for clean water and indoor plumbing than anything else. As most pandemics or epidemics, they're eradicated by sanitation. All right. So we're coming. Oh my God! Look, we just blew through almost 2 hours. I didn't think it was going to go this long, but I guess it did. So, if anybody has any questions or comments about this class or any of our classes, please like us here, comment here, share, subscribe to us here on YouTube. It's really one of the best places to leave your comments, your likes, your shares. We really do appreciate it. But also, you can follow us on Facebook. We have a private group on Facebook. We do, for our very serious students and for our group of people that we believe are genuinely trying to develop the work, we have a private server in school, and we do admit people. We're becoming we're becoming more and more exclusive. The more we get to know people in the work, the more exclusive we're becoming, because we're really not interested in selling. Yes, we have a focus and a goal and risk management clients. That's absolutely part of it. But the development of the work is the most important part of this, the development and the spreading of the word of Uranian astrology, which is the whole point of being active on social media for us, is spread the word, share, like, comment, talk about us. Why? Because we have to first create a name for Uranian astrology. Next, after we create a name for Uranian astrology, we need people to understand, or actually in cooperation with, not next. People need to know to come here. We are the founders. We are the developers. We are the originators. The triple line system. You see anybody making lines with Epic Pen? They learned it from us. They learned it from me because I was generous and gave them my time. And they're not here helping us. They're out there trying to sell it to you. And trust me, the only other person who has mastered this method is on the line with me. How you doing, Nice? I know. I love it when people say, well, master Uranian astrologers. I'm laughing at that. It's like, I'm it. I said it to Kenny the other night. I was like, I have a news flash for you. You are talking to one of the only two master Uranian astrologers I know, I've ever known. Ruth was up there. She was so close, but she hadn't quite hit the mark. And a few people have been very close, but they hadn't quite really hit the mark. Anyway, we're going to see you all next week. We appreciate all of your comments, your likes, your shares. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this class and this lecture, and we'll be around. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And by the way, I wanted to tell you something. Tia got robbed.
Oh.
Yeah, so everybody who has Tia's chart, all of her classmates and friends, you guys should go do her chart. Get in touch with her. And I just didn't have, I was very, very backed up this week because of tracking down this medication and doing some other things. And I just couldn't get it together. I really could not get it together this week. No, her home. Her and her husband, I guess, were away for the weekend. And they came back and their house had been just gone through. So she has all that information. This is what I would like all of you to do. If you're smart, she won't tell you when. You should all do her chart, ask her where she's living, confirm where she's living right now, confirm her data, confirm her husband's data, and see if you can test yourselves and see if you can figure out where and when she got robbed. That's a good little study thing and test for all of you. And I do it, but I have classes I have to prepare for. Nice would do it, but he has 5 gigs and 2 jobs.
Yeah, and the app, and yeah. So
if you guys want to do it,
help us.
Yeah. Hell, we're a family here. We all need, no, for real, all kidding aside. And her feeling of security, I've been robbed before, by the way.
Right.
So I feel very bad for you. You just never feel quite the same in your home after that happens. Especially if they get you good. And they got her pretty good. They didn't get her as good as they've gotten me before. And people I know know somebody whose house got robbed not too far from here, actually in Tampa. And their loss, and I mean their actual real loss, was like $2.6 million. And when they told me what it was, I couldn't help but scream, "What the frick are you doing with $2.6 million worth of robbable stuff in your house for?" Like, what are you, out of your mind? And when he told me like exactly what happened and what was taken, I was like, wow. Jesus, we should all go get a shack somewhere. You're going to really be better off that way. Nobody's looking at a shack going, I'll bet you there's some good stuff in there. All right. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. We appreciate anything you do. Please don't forget, again, like, comment, share. Leave your questions about this class, this lecture, or any other lecture that you've had here on YouTube. Follow us, like us, subscribe to us. Do all the things. All right?
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice talking to you. Nice. It's like this is our 1 hour a week, 2 hours, 2 hours a week.
All right.
All right, everybody. We're going to see you.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.